Are you a good friend? If you're anything like me, that's not an easy question to immediately answer. For most of my life, whenever I've thought about friendship, I've thought about the types of friends that I wanted to have. You're the average of the 5 people you spend most time with. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. There's so many quotes out there about the importance of our inner circle, and the overall message from them is the same. Audit the people around you. Only spend time with those who build you up and cut everyone else out. The focus is on what we stand to gain from our friendships. But what if we did the opposite? What if instead we focused first on what we give, on what we bring to the lives of others, on becoming better friends ourselves? The moment that I started answering that question, everything changed. My existing relationship strengthened, and new friendships started forming in all parts of my life, seemingly out of nowhere. And I genuinely believe that that is possible for each and every one of us. In order to have the best kind of friendships, true friendships, where we feel heard, seen, hopeful, joyful, and loved, it all starts by being good friends ourselves. Over the last 5 years, I've tried so many methods and made countless mistakes in pursuit of becoming a better friend. Out of everything that I've tried, 4 practices have come up again and again and again and have proven to work better than all of the rest. If you're like me and trying to become the best possible friend that you can be for others, I have a feeling that these may be able to change your life and your relationships as well. Listening is the most important skill that the majority of us are never explicitly taught. We spend so much time learning how to read, write, and speak properly, but only if we're extremely lucky do we get actual instruction on how to effectively listen to others. And that, honestly, is one of the most unfortunate things in the world, because without real listening, true communication and connection is impossible. In his TEDx talk, author and negotiation expert William Murray said it beautifully. Listening may be the golden key that opens the door to human relationship. But I'd venture a guess that the vast majority of us go through most every single day of our lives without being truly listened to, heard, and understood. So if we can be the ones to provide that listening ear to another, not only do we give them an incredible gift, but we open up the possibility for ourselves to either gain a new friend or to deepen an existing friendship. So then how do we actually become better listeners? Well, full disclosure, at least in my experience, becoming an effective listener isn't necessarily easy. Like almost any other worthwhile skill, we can't become experts overnight. But the good news is that we don't need to possess any sort of amazing luck or have a ton of money in order to become proficient. We can all learn to listen better by picking up the fundamentals and simply putting them into practice. Here's the best advice that I've received that has drastically improved my listening over the years. As much as I love talking about myself, doing so means that I'm not truly listening to understand the other person. I used to have this habit of trying to relate everything that somebody said back to my own life. For example, if a friend was excitedly telling me about a trip that she recently took, and she mentioned a restaurant that I'd been to as well, I would interject and I would say something like, "Oh, I've been there too. I absolutely love their tacos." While my intentions were good, since I was trying to relate, what I was actually doing when I made comments like that was taking the spotlight away from the other person and placing it on myself instead. What would have been a more effective path if I really wanted my friend to feel heard and understood would be to listen attentively and ask follow-up questions that allowed her to expand on her story. What was the peak and valley of the trip? Was there anything that surprised you? What were some of the lessons that you took away from traveling there? I've been surprised not only by how much people open up whenever they're asked questions like that, but also how much I've learned by giving them the space to speak. Personally, I really don't appreciate whenever other people give me unsolicited advice, so it's completely hypocritical that I've made a habit of doing that myself. I often do this whenever friends come to me with a problem or they want to share about a difficult spell that they're going through. I go into problem-solving mode and I offer up a solution or 2 or 3 that I think that they could implement to make the problem disappear. However, similar to directing the conversation to myself, while my intentions are pure, my execution is off. What I've learned by repeatedly screwing this up is that most every single time, my friends aren't looking for somebody to solve their problem. Often they already know exactly what to do. Instead, what they're seeking is someone to simply understand and be there with them. If a friend wants my advice, he'll ask for it. Until then, the greatest gift that I can give is an understanding, listening ear. This one is pretty simple. Completely face the person I'm listening to, put my phone away, and look them in the eyes. Those 3 little steps alone have improved my conversations and connection with others in a substantial way. Silence can be extremely uncomfortable, but it's also a powerful and often underutilized tool for having better conversations. When we don't fill the quiet with noise, We're able to have more time to actually process what's being said, think of better, more thoughtful and open-ended questions, and ultimately give space for our friends to open up further and share what they need to share. Though it does take time and effort on our part to become better listeners, all of that time invested is so well worth it, because there's no skill that carries more upside for potential friendships and real, genuine human connection. Anybody can sympathize with the sufferings of a friend, but it requires a very fine nature to sympathize with a friend's success. When I first heard that Oscar Wilde quote, I really didn't get it. I assumed that it was easier to be there for a friend during the good times than it was to support them in the hard ones. But as with many of my assumptions, I was completely off base. When I really thought about my own experience, I realized that it's been so much more difficult for me to be truly happy for my friends and celebrate their wins, as opposed to comforting them whenever life gets hard. Because doing so requires me to be vulnerable, set my ego aside, and deal with feelings of jealousy and envy that I often don't even realize are there. But those times where I've gotten it right, where in my heart of hearts I was genuinely happy for my friends, where I congratulated them heartily yet authentically on their wins, all while keeping the spotlight firmly affixed on them, have been nothing short of magical. Not only does it feel better and lighter to be genuinely happy for another person versus being envious, doing so has allowed me to be inspired by the amazing things that my friends are doing. Not only that, it's brought so many people into my life that are genuinely happy for my victories as well. It's been a long process to get to this point, but there have been some reminders that have helped me so much on this journey that I hope can be helpful for you as well. First is remembering that success isn't finite. Another person's success does not mean that I am less. A mindset of abundance is more powerful than a mindset of scarcity. The second is that we're all on our unique paths. The exact combination of one's desires and dreams that I have is different than literally every other human that has ever existed. I'm not competing against anyone else. I'm only competing against myself. The final one is that I have no idea of the sacrifices and hardships that someone had to go through to get their victory. It's easy to feel envious of the final result, but that is such a small part of the overall picture. Though people who celebrate our wins with us may be rare, we can use that as an opportunity to be better friends and serve that role for others. I've heard and used terms like unconditional love and unconditional support throughout my life, but it wasn't until quite recently that I actually thought about what those really mean. Unconditional, not subject to any conditions, not limited in any way, no strings attached. To really give unconditional love and support means supporting my friends even whenever they make a decision or go down a path that I don't necessarily agree with. Loving friends not because of what they'll do for me in return, but simply to give them love. But most of all, it means not trying to change another person and accepting them truly as they are. Now, obviously, there are sometimes those extremes where the best thing is for us to say or do something and not simply accept what's happening. Times where there's hate being directed towards others, there's self-harm being inflicted, or where something illegal is going on. But in my experience, those types of situations are by far the exception as opposed to the rule. And when I'm trying to get friends to change, it's for things that are far more trivial. When I want them to take up my hobbies, prioritize the same habits as me, and have the exact same opinions. Essentially, I try to get them to change to match what I think is the ideal way of life. But I realize now that that's really not being a good friend. So to be better, I've worked on accepting my friends as they are, celebrating the differences that we have, and making sure that they know that they're loved no matter what. Because I think that we could all use more people in our lives who accept us without requirements or stipulations. This last one is purposely vague, as it encompasses a lot of different examples and situations. Showing up can mean physically being there. Maybe it's showing up to a friend's performance, helping a friend move, or traveling to be with a friend when tragedy strikes. It can be emotional in nature, checking in on a friend you haven't heard from in a while, providing an understanding listening ear, or point blank asking our friends, what can I do to help you? At its core, showing up is caring about our friends and showing that through our actions. It's not just talking the talk, it's making sure that we walk the walk. Now, if you have any ideas or tips on how to be a better friend, and I'm sure that you have some really great ones, please share them down in the comments below so that we can learn from and support each other on this beautiful journey of life. Also, if this sort of content vibes with you, I would encourage you to hit the subscribe button for more. I'm on a mission to help 1 million people make a true friend. So there'll be plenty more videos coming out about how we build and maintain these relationships in our lives. It would be amazing to have you along for the journey. Either way though, I'm sending you so much love today, my friends. I hope that today you have the best day ever. Bye now.